if you, like me, come from a culture where even talking about anything remotely associated with mental health or having emotional issues is considered taboo and nobody really wants to talk about it, then you are definitely in the right place, because we're gonna deal with some issues that are, hey Rebecca, sis, good to see you. We're gonna deal with some issues that affect all of us. And today, the world over, we've all been, mourning the loss of Chad, Chadwick Boseman, and such incidences. May his soul rest in peace, brother. Well done, good rest, run. Life is not so much about how long you live, but how you live your life. So he's finished his course, and we have to take up the baton now. But situations like that can cause you to have low mood or feel sad, or fall into depression, or just be stressed out. So today, when we talk about anxiety, we're talking about a whole family of issues. We're talking about depression. We're talking about fear. We're talking about phobias, all sorts of phobias. There's even general anxiety, if you like, where you just generate anxiety all the time. It's just a general anxiety that some people suffer from it. It's got a name. It's just general anxiety disorder. It's called GAD, G-A-D. You could give it all sorts of names. But today, I'm not going to bore you with a lot of very technical scientific terms and even Western medicine, if you like. I'm going to focus more on natural solutions that you can apply by yourself, for yourself, anywhere you are. And so we're going to find answers together that way. I'm even going to resist the temptation to quote the word and preach the Bible, because that's not what I'm doing today. Today I came to help somebody and anybody out there, not just a Christian, but anybody who could benefit from this. Darren, Michael, good to see you guys. So what is anxiety? If you were to describe anxiety, you would say anxiety is a feeling of unease. Essentially, you feel unease. It's a feeling of unease, worry, and fear. And it can range on a broad spectrum, as I had said. And in itself, anxiety is not necessarily a toxic thing in itself. It is not a weird thing. Good to have you here, Pastor Danny and Pastor Tosi, Pastor Cyrus. Love you guys. Listen, anxiety is not exactly a terrible thing that you go through as a person. Every human being goes through a form of anxiety, one way or another. It is our natural mechanism, or how our bodies have been built to cope and deal with stress and different types of triggers that come into our lives. And so when we talk about anxiety, we are not just talking about a certain group of people. This is something that everybody faces. For instance, you might feel anxious about going too close to a fire or a hot object, and that is the body's way of defending you from getting burned. And so you pull away. And so it is not necessarily always toxic. It is not always a bad thing. Anxiety only becomes toxic and becomes a terrible thing when it prevents you from living your day-to-day life normally. I'm going to say that again. So anxiety is not in itself a terrible thing. It becomes toxic and a bad thing when it prevents you from living a healthy life from day to day, from doing day-to-day things that you would normally do. Now, at that point, you need intervention. That is why you need help. That is why you need somebody to help you. You might be watching me today saying, I need to understand exactly whether you're talking about me. So this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you have a fear of things. I'm talking about you get depressed. I'm talking about you suffer from low moods, maybe insomnia. Maybe it results in just you having a panic attack. And so there are different categories that would fall in the same thing that we are talking about. So you could have a panic disorder or different phobias or agoraphobia or claustrophobia, different types of things. They all fall in the same family. Some of you even have just a social anxiety disorder. And the social anxiety disorder is where you avoid mixing with people. You isolate yourself because you think they might judge you, or you think you're not good enough, and your brain tells you to keep away and stay away from certain types of groups of people. It's a social anxiety disorder. So there are different types, and then there's obviously the general one that I mentioned before, which is, thank you so much, Pastor Tosi, which is the general anxiety disorder, where you're just a warrior manufacturing machine. Every situation that comes across, you just can't help but worry. And there are many reasons why you might be prone to be a worrier. There are many reasons why you may be, if you like, an easy target for mental health issues such as the ones we're talking about. Some of them are hereditary. It may be that you've inherited certain traits in your family that cause you to be a worrier, if you like, or to easily fall into anxiety. Or it could just be because you've developed behavioral patterns over time that have now resulted in you being a worrier all the time, or a perpetual worrier. And so let's see if we can look at a few symptoms that you can look out for, in order for you to stay on top of this. So you might feel restless. You might be feeling worried. Still talking about the symptoms of anxiety. Some of the key symptoms that you can identify. You might be feeling troubled and maybe having trouble concentrating on things. All these are signs of anxiety. You might be having trouble sleeping. You might be suffering from dizziness or some form of vertigo or heart palpitations. All these are signs of anxiety that you may be having or going through. Restlessness, sweating, sweaty palms, and an elevated heartbeat. All these are signs of anxiety. Those of you that remember when you went to school and they taught you about fear and fright, what they didn't give us at secondary school was the freeze, but there are 3 F's: fear, fright, freeze, where your body responds automatically without even you doing anything about it. And that is another thing that is quite interesting about anxiety, because most of your reactions are not reactions that you are deciding to have. Most of your reaction are things that are happening automatically in your body, because it is your autonomic nervous system kicking in. And because it is your autonomic nervous system kicking in, most of these things are happening without even you realizing that you're doing it. It might be a fear of flying, for instance. As soon as you see an aeroplane, you feel jumpy and your heartbeat goes up, and you're thinking, you haven't even decided to feel that way, because we're going to understand before we are done today why you feel that way. In fact, there is a little sector of your brain called the amygdala, which stores information. In fact, I might as well tell you right now. Here is what happens. Say, for instance, when I was younger, I used to have a terrible hobby. Don't tell anybody I told you this. I used to kill snakes for fun. And how it all started was because my mother stepped on a snake and I wasn't at home and they couldn't kill it. And when I got back, I was so mad that my mother almost got bit by a snake. So I went on a rampage looking for snakes to destroy. But literally, what happens with your brain is to any other person who's probably scared of snakes, obviously I'm not, if you see a snake and in that moment, the knowledge that the snake is dangerous and could bite you gets registered in your amygdala, which is a part of your brain that stores this information. And your brain tells you that this is very, very bad. This is not supposed to happen. This is dangerous. And that information is stored in your brain. So every time you come across a snake or even just see a picture, those emotions will come back and your autonomic nervous system will kick in, and the hormones, the excitement hormones, the adrenaline will be released in your bloodstream, and all of a sudden you feel restless, you're beating fast, and it is a memory mechanism where your brain gets wired that way. And in a sense, that is generally how anxiety functions in even other areas. So if you're anxious about exams, it's because every time you hear the word exam, that same memory in the same part of the brain gets reactivated, and all of a sudden you're scared, or you're anxious, or you're panicking, or you're stressing out. You might even go into a full-blown panic attacks. And if I can just briefly pause for those of you that may suffer from panic attacks, every panic attack never comes to stay. They always pass. Some 30 minutes later at the most, it will pass and it will move on. And what matters is how you deal with it, what you do in that 30 minutes. It's like people that commit suicide. The time that you feel like taking your life doesn't last forever. It is all the autonomic nervous system has kicked in, and all these, you're feeling all these things. You see a cloud of darkness and you can't see a way out. But if you can understand some of the coping mechanisms we're going to look at today, it will help you ride that feeling out, because it doesn't stay forever. And once you've done the riding out of it, you've come back down and you're now back in your normal senses and you can think straight. So Let's see if we can move this along a little bit, because I am determined not to make this a very long one. In fact, I'm going to talk at the most about 45 minutes, and then I will take questions if you have any. I'm going to try to read them off the screen. If there are no questions, it means I've still done a good job either way. So the anxiety is something we live with every day. It becomes toxic when it begins to prevent you. Say, for instance, you've had an accident. A car accident, a road traffic accident, and now you can no longer drive. Now you need help. When anxiety begins to prevent you from dealing or living your life normally, now you need intervention. But anxiety in itself is a coping mechanism that God, or whoever, if I believe God created human beings, that's why I say when I say God, or whatever you believe. Some of you believe you came from monkeys, but obviously you know your relatives better than I do, so I'll leave you alone with your family. But for those of us that believe in creation, the way our bodies are wired, or the way that we are programmed, is such that we have all these mechanisms, and they are healthy and they are normal. Just like your temperature, you need to have some form of heat or a temperature in your body that's elevated up to 36, 37 or somewhere there. But if it goes further than that, it becomes toxic, because it can then fry some parts of your body or cells in your body. And that's why sometimes when you step outside, you get goosebumps, and your body reacts to it, because it is a defense mechanism that is inbuilt. In the same way when you have a fever. The fever is not the biggest problem. The fever is just an indicator that there is something wrong in your system. So your body is fighting whatever is wrong by raising the temperature in order to try to destroy the foreign body that is coming in. In the same way, anxiety works the same way. It protects us from perceived danger. And so I'm going to slow right down, because I want to help somebody. And when I say perceived danger, and this is the key word, perceived danger, every form of anxiety, whether we're talking depression, whether we're talking fear, whether we're talking stress, whether we're talking panic attacks, whatever it is, it always comes in as a signal. Every form of anxiety always comes in as a signal into your brain. When it comes as a signal, a thought, it now goes into what we call the anxiety loop. It goes into the anxiety loop, and you have the power to either give in to the anxiety loop and it takes over completely. I wish I had my board. I didn't put it up before I started. Never mind. Left it downstairs. But the anxiety loop, I'm going to try to describe it without writing it down, is one that you can either get stuck in or get out of. And before we are done today, I'm going to show how you can escape the anxiety loop. So signals will always come. You will get an anxious signal. Say, for instance, you are about to get on a plane. And the signal would come to say, ooh, remember that plane crash? Oh my God, you're about to get on a plane. So immediately you feel anxious. What happens in the second part of that loop is you now begin to feel the actual anxiety in your body, the symptoms. You begin to feel anxious and you're fearful and you are dreading getting on that plane. And then when you follow that loop down to the third part, now you begin to have the actual physical symptoms. You begin to sweat in your palms. Maybe your heart begins to beat faster. Maybe you even begin to shake. You could have all sorts of reactions now happening. Now at that point, you have the last part of it, which is your action part, before it goes back to the feeling being exasperated or being made worse or being multiplied. On the last part of it, you now have the power to either give in and become an anxious, nervous person, or break free from it. And so today, before we are done, we're going to focus on that fourth part, which is your action. What to do when anxiety comes. What to do when the thought or the signal comes. What to do when you begin to feel even the symptoms. You begin to feel the panic and you begin to stress out. What do you do? That's not the end of it. All these are natural reactions for your body to defend itself. It is what you do with them that is when it becomes either toxic or just a normal way of life. And so we're going to deal with that part when we come to that in terms of breaking the anxiety loop or anxiety cycle. So generally, let me just give you some things that may cause anxiety. Overactivity in areas of your brain that are involved with your emotions and behavior could cause anxiety. An imbalance of the brain chemicals such as serotonin or noradrenaline. And I'm going to talk about those guys briefly, maybe when I talk about coffee later on, which are involved in control and regulation of your mood in your body. Okay, and sometimes you can have genes that you have inherited from your parents. You're estimated to be 5 times more likely to develop a general anxiety disorder if you have close relatives who have that condition. So there could be that as well. I'm not saying that's the end of it and you still have to go through it. I'm just giving you some of the reasons why you may go through this. You may have gone through a traumatic incident or a traumatic occurrence. I'll give you an example. I think I suffered a little bit from anxiety at some point in my grown-up years, Christian, born again, anointed and all. And I still went through it. This is what happened to me. I'm going to share my experience, hoping that it will help somebody. So I've heard of many plane crashes and planes missing and going missing. But one time, a few years back, maybe a couple of years ago, I can't remember now, an Ethiopian airline plane went down. And because sometimes I've used Ethiopian Airlines to go to Zambia, and it was too close to home, and it got to me, and then I did what most of us do, and we're gonna look at what to do on that last bit of the cycle and what not to do. I did what not to do, okay, which is I went to Google. Okay, this is what people do. They feel a bit anxious. Maybe right now you might feel a bit of a fever, a bit of a headache. You go to Google, and Google tells you, oh, you got COVID. COVID-19's got you. Or Google might tell you this is a cancer. You're dying very soon. So this is what I did. I went, the last thing you want to do when you are in this loop is go to Google. Okay, you don't want to do that. But that's exactly what I did. I went to Google and I began to look it up. Oh my God, I watch everything, every video, every analysis. And now without realizing, I have filled my amygdala, which is that part of your brain that I told you about, with information that flying is bad, flying kills, flying is dangerous, don't you dare do it, without realizing that I'm doing it. So a week later, I was on a flight, believe I was flying to Amsterdam. And on my way to Amsterdam, I fell asleep. And when I woke up, the plane was shaky and there was so much turbulence. And because I woke up from sleep, my brain told me, oh, that's what we've been reading all along. You are going down. You are dying. I told you it was dangerous. And all of a sudden, I'm struggling. My heart is beating fast and I'm panicking and I'm stressing out. And not my decision. My body is reacting. My mind is reacting. My brain is reacting. Because over time, I have taught my part of the brain to look at flying in such a way. Whatever you have taught your brain over time, the amygdala saves that in the memory bank. And when the situation presents itself again, you go into panic, you go into anxiety, you go into stress, without even your involvement. It's autonomic. It's happening automatically. And you need to have the skill and the tools to be able to bring yourself back. And that is why I'm determined to share this today, so we can help somebody. I'm just giving various examples. I've given an example of a snake. I've given an example of flying. There are different reasons why somebody might go through anxiety. It might be an interview that you're about to attend. It might be you're concerned about the state of your church or your congregation or your business or whatever it is that you do. You might be worried about your children. It might be that you are worried about your relationship. Whatever it is, there are different root causes to anxiety. And so, and here we are. So all of a sudden, you find yourself in a place where you are in a loop. And this loop will carry on and get worse, and it will become toxic, and it will become chronic. You become a chronic warrior. Bottom line is, every human being has the ability and capability to generate anxiety. You have the ability to generate worry. It's in you. It's part of you. It's a part of your defense mechanism. It is how you handle it. It is understanding how your mind functions, understanding how your brain functions. For instance, something fascinating about the human brain: as clever as the brain is, as intelligent as the brain is, it has no ability to distinguish between what is real and what is fictitious. So when your brain perceives a danger, even though though it has not happened yet, your brain instructs the autonomic nervous system to release adrenaline and all the other hormones that are supposed, and all of a sudden you are into full drive, fear and fright and freeze without even you doing anything about it. Obviously, you have the sympathetic nervous system on the other side, which is responsible for then coming in to calm things down. But I'm going to show how you can give your sympathetic nervous system a chance to counterbalance the other part that is getting you anxious and excited. So let's see, in terms of the majority of people who are affected with anxiety, and most of these disorders, it's normally people from the age of 35 to 59, but that is not to say people younger than that or older than that are not affected by it. That's just the group of people that are mostly affected by anxiety. And I won't bore you with any more statistics. I just thought I'd give you that one, and I'll leave it alone. Now, let's see if we can look at some treatments on how to deal with this. Let me see how we're doing with time, because I promised, okay, we're doing good. In the next few minutes, we're going to look at some solutions. But maybe before we look at solutions, we might want to look at some toxic behavior that may cause you to make anxiety worse in your life. So some of the treatments that are out there, like I promised you, I won't give you medications and all that. I could, but I won't, because I don't think it's responsible of me. What I would do today is give you natural ways to deal with it, things you can do by yourself without needing to go into a hospital. However, there are psychotherapies that are involved. There is a CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. There are different other therapies out there, including antidepressants and all those things that you can get from the hospital. But like I said, I will stay away from those for today, because there are better ways. There are more natural ways, not better in a way, because for some people medication might be better, but there are more natural ways to deal with anxiety, to deal with stress, to deal with panic attacks, and that's what we're going to do today. So let's see, how do I break the cycle of anxiety? How do I break the cycle of anxiety? That is what we're going to do with now. And then when we've dealt with that, I'm going to kind of pause a little bit, see if I can look at any question that may be coming through, and see if we can help somebody today. So how do you deal with anxiety? I've written down a few things that you can do to break that cycle. And I'm just going to go through them one by one without dwelling too much on them because of time. It is impossible to exhaust the whole subject on anxiety in 45 minutes. Literally impossible. But I'm going to do my best to just deal with probably the most common ones and most important ones. And obviously, when we deal with toxic habits, essentially, if you flip that, we're talking about what you need to be doing. So we are, at the same time, we are doing what you shouldn't be doing. We're also doing what you need to be doing. Okay? And so good to have you guys, Rosalind Chamberlain, Cecilia, and hey, it's good to have you guys on the line. So look at this. Number one, overthinking. So for any of you that are taking notes, number one toxic behavior to anxiety, stress, depression, and all these family is overthinking. Okay? When you overthink, you literally are not helping yourself with anxiety. It drives the thing further into anxiety. What do I mean by that? The best example I can give by overthinking, by saying overthinking, is catastrophic thinking. And what do I mean by catastrophic thinking? Let's break that down further. I'll give you an example. My daughter, Juliana, she likes to hide. And one day, I was with her at school holidays, me and her stuck at home, and she is hiding somewhere in the kitchen. So I'm looking for Juliana. I look in her bedroom, she's not there. I look in every bedroom, she's not there. I go to my office, she's not there. And I'm calling her and she's not answering. And here is how you can make anxiety worse, by overthinking, which is there's a group of overthinking called catastrophic thinking, where you begin to think, oh my God, what has happened? And a lot of people have this tendency of thinking the worst out of a situation. So you can't find her in all these rooms. She's not in the living room. She's not in the dining room. She's not even in the kitchen. I went to the kitchen. I couldn't find her. But she was hiding under a table in the kitchen. So now here's how overthinking affects you. Immediately you start overthinking. Oh my God, maybe something happened to her. Heart rate goes up. You begin to sweat. Anxiety symptoms are already kicking in. Your autonomic nervous system is already kicking in. And then the part of your brain that stores that memory, the amygdala, maybe you've watched a documentary before. Maybe you just finished watching the movie Taken. Those of you that haven't watched Taken, brilliant movie. You've watched that movie, and all of a sudden, that part of your brain has stored a memory that children can be abducted, children can be stolen, children can fall off ditches, children can fall off windows on second floors or whatever. And so you begin to think, did she fall off her bedroom window? Did she, has somebody taken her? So now I'm checking the front door, I'm checking the back door, and I go into a temporary mode of panic before I have to hold myself back, because you have to learn to catch yourself. And so the first thing you need to watch out for is catastrophic thinking or overthinking. When you are overthinking, you are not, you don't even think straight. Okay, when you are catastrophically thinking, you're not even in your right state of mind to be able to make the right decision. And so you want to avoid that. You want to avoid that. According to researchers at UCLA, they found that a study, thinking is addictive to depressed, overthinking is addictive to depressed people. Literally, what happens is, in comparison to the normal brain, they said that a depressed brain forms functional connection, but then loses its ability to turn off such connections. So what they have studied, the scientists, is that at UCLA, is that when somebody is prone to depressive tendencies, when they start overthinking, they don't have the ability to turn it off. Compared to somebody else who doesn't have the tendency of being somebody who's depressed or anxious, they can turn it off and back off. But somebody who is generally prone to depression has lesser ability of turning off the thought pattern. So it spirals and goes out of control until now you're having a full-blown heart attack, a panic attack, and it goes into the loop, and the feelings get worse, the symptoms get worse, and you're in trouble, and in the end, you probably can't even sleep now, you can't eat properly, and then now you have to start relying on pills and medication in order to counterbalance the hormones in your body. But there are natural ways of dealing with it. So number one, stop overthinking, okay? Number two, I could go on about every point, but we just don't have the luxury, unfortunately, of time. Number two, if you are not getting enough sleep, okay, not getting enough sleep is not your friend. So a lack of enough rest, a lack of enough sleep does not help you. In other words, it works against you. In the same way, so every time I talk about a toxic behavior, if you flip that, that is the positive behavior. So lack of sleep, toxic. Enough sleep, good for you. Okay, that's what I mean when I say there are two sides to everything that I'm going to share tonight. Now, I'm not saying sleep for 12 hours. That's now a disease called laziness, okay? So I'm just saying that you've got to get enough rest and enough sleep in order for you to be able to function properly. Not getting enough sleep increases the odds that you will get anticipatory anxiety, according to the study from the Journal of Neuroscience. So according to the study of Journal of Neuroscience, they're saying that if you don't get enough sleep, you will get anticipatory anxiety. And because you're anticipating something is going to happen because your body hasn't rested enough. So number two, get some rest. I'm going to try to see if I can cruise and see if we can get through this. Number three, do not drink too much caffeine or sugar. Too much caffeine or sugar. Now, I don't know how many of you grew up like how I grew up. I grew up in a culture where my mother made the tea, okay? Do I have any witnesses out there? Probably have some witnesses. She made the tea, she put the sugar in, and she put the milk in, and then we were served cups of tea. So you had no choice as to how many sugars you took, whether you drank black tea or white tea. Everybody drank white tea, and everybody drank tea with sugar. Full stop. Okay, so now I moved to London some 23 years ago, and people are asking me silly questions like black or white. I'm like, what do you mean? It's tea. It's always white, you know. And then another silly question. Now I'm saying silly because to me there were silly questions at the time. Another silly question was how many sugars? What do you mean how many sugars? I don't know how many sugars I take. My mother put them in before she served us, and so some of you may have developed this this as a habit of drinking too much sugar without your choice. Maybe you just grew up like me. And some of you drink coffee as a habit, especially if you live in the United Kingdom. There's a hot drink culture here. Everybody drinks what they call a brew, you know, tea, coffee. As soon as you get to the office, the first thing to do is the kettle goes on. And as soon as you get home, the first thing you do is it's a culture, it's a habit. But if you are prone to anxiety, you want to stay away from too much caffeine. And by caffeine, I don't just mean tea and coffee. I mean fizzy drinks. I mean, if you are somebody who can easily get depressed or get into low mood or get stressed out, you don't want to be having fizzy drinks. Basically, anything with caffeine is not your friend, okay? Caffeine has a tendency of inhibiting somebody who is your friend in your body. I call these guys happy hormones, you know, and serotonin is one such happy hormone that you need in order to counteract anxiety. Now, it gives you the feel-good factor. It is the body's natural mechanism that makes you feel good. These chemicals and hormones God has placed in there, they make you feel good. So serotonin is inhibited by caffeine. So if you are somebody that is prone to being anxious and then you're inhibiting your friend that can help you feel better, who is serotonin, you are actually shooting yourself in the foot. You and caffeine are working together for your distraction. So you want to stay away from that stuff, especially nearer to bedtime, because then you struggle to sleep, you have insomnia, and then the lack of sleep then results in you being anxious the following day, and being anxious results in you failing to sleep, and it's a loop, and it goes on and on again. So try to stick to juices, try to stick to water. In fact, drink enough water. Very few people drink enough water. So you want to make sure you avoid too much sugar. See, like caffeine, sugar gives you a high, a temporary high. Like caffeine, I'll say that again, sugar gives you a temporary high. So here's what happened. When you drink something sweet, maybe a Coke or something fizzy, with caffeine in it, and you drink coffee or tea, you feel great, you feel awake, you feel high, but it is not permanent. It is a temporary high. So here's what happened. You go up quickly like this, you're feeling good, and after a few moments, the sugar wears out of your bloodstream. The caffeine goes out of your bloodstream, and you go plumbing right down, and you're depressed, you're sad, you're anxious, all of a sudden you're jittery, you feel like you want to make another coffee, and now you become a coffee addict or something like that. And for those of you that are on pills, you now live from pill to pill, but you want to avoid this. Okay, so I've labored too much. That one, like I said, they're supposed to be snippets because of time. Number 4, stop procrastinating. Okay, I'm going to cruise a little bit now. Stop procrastinating. Okay, number 4, stop procrastinating. Procrastination is not your friend when it comes to anxiety. Here is how it works. Every time you're procrastinating, let's say you have an assignment to do, you keep putting it off, you keep putting it off. This is what's happening to your brain. Your brain is saying, oh my God, I have something I need to do. I have work to submit. I have a deadline. And every time you're thinking about the deadline, because you're procrastinating, you are feeding the anxiety demon. You are feeding anxiety. And the more you procrastinate, the more anxious you get. So here is the flip side of it. Remember what I said? 2 coins to every point I give. The flip side is get on with it. Get it done. Okay, stop procrastination. Procrastinating. Procrastination is not your friend. In other words, the solution to that, get a diary, get an organizer. That way you can see everything where it is, and the thoughts are not flying in your mind, stressing you out and causing you to be anxious because you're like, oh my God, I think I need to do something. I've forgotten. I need to do something with my son or with my daughter. What is it? What is it again? And now you're going into overdrive with anxiety because you're not organized, you didn't write it down, you procrastinated, and now you can't even remember what it is. And so stop procrastinating. I'm going to move quicker this time because of time. Now listen, because of time I'm cruising. However, I'm more than happy to do another segment if you guys want me to do it so we can build on this on another day. But today I will not rush it. I will give the points that need to be given, the important parts, and then we will park wherever we have to park. If we have to do this again, then we might as well just do that. Number 5. Getting overwhelmed at work, with your children, allowing yourself to get overwhelmed is not your friend when it comes to anxiety. Some of you, I know, feel like killing your children today, but your children, you say you can't kill them. Overwhelmness can come from work. It can come from different things that we deal with every day that cause stress. So try to stay out of situations that overwhelm you. Sometimes learn to step back from situations and return back to them when you are feeling better. Learn to step back and return to them because it's in your organizer or diary. This is not procrastination. Two different things. This is not the snooze button. No. This is you taking a step back for your mental health because you see a danger of panicking and getting overwhelmed. So avoid getting overwhelmed about situations by taking a step back and doing certain techniques, which I'll show you just before we go, such as certain breathing techniques that you can do that can help you center yourself back so you can think straight yet again. Okay, so where am I? Number six. Number six is quite interesting. The search for perfection. Okay, stop trying to be perfect. I am prone to be that because I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I want everything perfect. I want everything in a certain place. The search for perfection is what results in anxiety disorders such as OCD, where you want things a certain way. You come to my wardrobe, you find my clothes, aligned in certain color coded and all that. Everything I do has to be a certain way. And this comes from trying to be perfect. And this is not your friend when it comes to anxiety. Now, I believe that all of us have some kind of OCD one way or another. Now, talk for yourself, David. I know that's what you're thinking. But try to give yourself permission to make mistakes. Give yourself permission to error sometimes. This will help you with anxiety. When you are a stickler for perfection or to perfection, it doesn't help your anxiety levels. It elevates them further. There are different aspects to this one. Number one is the actual search for perfection. Okay, recognize and acknowledge that you are not perfect. Recognize and acknowledge that nobody is perfect. Number two, under perfection, stop self-criticizing, okay? Self-criticism does not help you with anxiety. It actually makes it worse. Self-criticism, always speaking on yourself, always calling yourself names, always putting yourself down. Stop it. Okay, number three, under perfection, is stop comparing yourself to other people. Okay, one of the reasons why you are anxious all the time, you are stressed out, and you're even depressed in the family of anxiety is because you are busy comparing yourself to other people. Okay, you are unique. There is nobody like you. You are 1 in 5 million. That means you are special just the way you are. You are beautiful just the way you are. You are brilliant just the way you are. The moment you try to be somebody else, you abdicate your right to be yourself, thereby denying yourself and your generation the only thing that only you could have contributed to this generation, which only you could have done, because only you can do what you were born to do. So stay original. You've probably heard me or seen me tweet online all the time. Branded for success. Grace life. Listen, there is enough grace for what you are meant to be. There is no grace for you for what somebody else was meant to be. If you try to be somebody else, there's no grace for you there. It's like a fish trying to ride a bicycle. You are going to fail miserably. You will be stressed out. You will be depressed and you will suffer from anxiety. Find your lane, stick with it and go for it. On-lane somebody. I'm going to move on before I get stuck there because I'm passionate about the on-lane stuff. So I might be here for 2 hours. So I'm going to move on. Number 7. Stop listening to sad songs, okay? If you are prone to anxiety or depression, don't listen to sad songs. Listen to somebody happy. What do I mean by that? I mean exactly that. Stop listening to sad songs. It is ironic that when people are feeling low, they want to listen to sad news. When people are feeling low, they want to, this is what I was telling Maps earlier on that, stop it, busy looking at all this news and Chadwick Boseman passed away and so the natural temptation is to read everything about what's going on and feed your mind with so much sorrow and sadness, and I try to prevent myself from doing that. Not that I don't care. I've even posted about his demise and he's going home to glory, but just because I'm protecting my mind, I'm protecting my brain, so I am choosing not to feed myself too much of sad news, so I don't spiral into depression, because I already feel sad that he's gone to glory. And so here's what happens when you listen to sad songs. People get, they have a breakup in a relationship. Guess what they listen to? Rod Stewart's double platinum tearjerkers. And all of a sudden, now you were 30% depressed, now you are at 70. So stop listening to sad songs. Change the music. In the same way, change your toxic, sad friends. You can be there for them. I'm not saying abandon them when they need you, but not when you're feeling low. When misery loves company. You don't want to be hanging out with fellow miserable, depressed people when you're depressed. Anyway, blind can't lead the blind. That's all I'll say about that one. So make sure that you choose what you are feeding your eyes with, your mind with. If it is increasing the sadness levels, increasing the anxiety, you want to avoid that. So cut out the sad songs. You know what the opposite is. Listen to something bad. Number 8, complaining all the time and blaming others is a toxic behavior when it comes to anxiety. Learn to take responsibility. Every time you complain about everything and blame everybody for it, you rob yourself of the power to break out of the loop that we're trying to get you to break out of. Because if somebody else can put you there, it means they're the ones who have the power to get you out. But if you decide, regardless of what they did, the response is mine, therefore, even the solution rests with me. Now you have the power back in your hands to break the anxiety loop. Okay, and I'm gonna give you in a moment exactly how to literally cut that loop off, even though we are looking at these other things you can do to break that loop. Number 9, a lack of exercise is not good for you. Exercise, get the body healthy, get moving, okay? You don't have to drive everywhere. I want labor that you don't need to send your kids upstairs all the time. Walk up there sometimes, okay? Do that. So exercise is good for you. It will make you less anxious, okay? It won't just get you off the couch, but it literally gives you a sense, or it releases even the correct chemicals and hormones that you need in your body in order for you to function correctly and avoid getting into depression and anxiety. And because I'm cruising, I'll just mention it out there, even though there is so much I can say about exercise. I've taken up cycling now. I go out on my bike and do that thing so that I can stay healthy. Number 10, we are on number 10 coping mechanism slash toxic behavior, okay? A negative mindset. You can combine this with a victim mentality. Avoid having a negative mindset. Avoid having a victim mentality. So number 10, stay away from negativity. In other words, change your language. Instead of saying things like, oh, this is just gonna get worse, look on the positive side. Always see the glass half full instead of half empty. Become a person that sees the glass half full and not half empty. If you are prone to anxiety or depression or stress or panic attacks, learn to be positive. So in every situation, find a good part to it. Every situation, find some goodness in it and flip it around. Number 11, because I got a cruise. I only have a few more now and then we will park. Number 11, do not focus on the past too much. It is research has shown that people who are more prone to anxiety and stress and all these things and depression are people who dwell on the past and they harbor anger and resentment. Let go of anger. Let go of resentment. Forgive them and let them go. Every time you hold on to what they did to you, you are keeping yourself depressed, keeping yourself stressed out, keeping yourself anxious, panicking all the time because of what they did. And because of that part of the brain, remember the amygdala, what happens is every time you remember what they did last summer, amygdala says, oh yeah, I remember that incident. In fact, there is a text message in your phone. Let's read it again. So it remembers even how you felt, and it brings back all the feelings of heartache. When they called you a monkey, when they called you a baboon, when they called you an orangutan, whatever they called you, and whatever you felt, now it all comes crashing back, and the loop goes on, and the anxiety loop marches on, and on and on. So move away from the past. If I were preaching, I would say, for like what Paul said, forgetting the past and pressing towards the goal. But because I'm not preaching, I'm just going to tell you, let it go. All right? Let it go and make a decision to let it go. Don't harbor unforgiveness. Let it go and move on. Stop dwelling in the past. Delete those messages. You don't need them. They are toxic to you. Get rid of that voice note that you keep playing over and over again. And every time you play it, you're in tears and you're crying and you're depressed and you want to kill yourself. But you keep playing the thing. You've kept it in your phone. And some people, they don't even need permission to have your number anymore, because every time they're just toxic to you. They just come back with insults. They depress you furthermore. Block such people. And that way you are leaving the past from behind and you're moving forward and you're protecting your mental health. One day when you are stronger, you can go back and associate with them, because maybe you can deal with that. But right now, you want to make sure you avoid that. Where am I? I believe I'm at number 12. Am I? Yes, I am. When you start using alcohol and food, alcohol and or food to cope, this is an indicator that you are moving in a dangerous toxic behavior that will exasperate the situation in your anxiety cycle or in your anxiety experience. So the use of alcohol, while it may give you a little quick fix or high, or maybe the use of food to feel better, or this chocolate bar because I'll feel better when I eat it, or when I stuff myself with something that I really like, I'll feel better. What you are doing is you're giving yourself a temporary fix. It is also known as binge eating. It could go the other way. You might not have any appetite at all, but even that is also a symptom, an indicator that you're going towards a toxic behavior with regards anxiety. So you want to make sure that while food can give you temporary comfort, while alcohol can give you temporary alcohol is one of the foods that could hurt anxiety because it is a depressant. So already you are feeling depressed, you're anxious, and now you are drinking a depressant. So you can see where I'm going with this. So you are already anxious, you are already sad, you are already feeling low, and now, where is that depressant? Okay, let's go alcohol. When I drink this, I'll forget my sorrows. But you are not forgetting your sorrows. You are making them worse because you are drinking a depressant. So now you've got a double negative. And now you're really depressed. And after you sober up, now you got even more problems. You spent more money that you didn't even have. And maybe you even got beat up at the pub. I'll leave you alone. So when you start using alcohol and or food as a solution or comfort, you know you're in trouble. You want to stay away from that. Okay, let's see. Where are we? Okay. Number 13, I think we're on 13 and we're almost done. Yeah, we got two more. Number 13, avoiding the outdoors. Here's another toxic behavior, avoiding people, okay? It is a social anxiety disorder. It's a social avoidance disorder, if you like, social disorder. You avoid people, you avoid going outside. Make sure you get out, okay? I know there's a lockdown. Get out, even if it's in the neighborhood. Get some air, get some fresh air, get out. Do not avoid the outdoors, and avoid isolating yourself. Avoid isolating yourself, because due to past experience with anxiety, you might find yourself isolating yourself because you're thinking they will judge me, they will not understand me, which is a social disorder, anxiety disorder. They might not understand me. Oh no, they've never been through what I've gone through, so they'll never get it. So you keep to yourself, and when you keep to yourself, you're not helping yourself. You're making the situation worse. You want to get out and find trusted friends. Get trusted circles. Have people in your circle that you can confide in and open up to and talk to. This is how a psychotherapy works, or psychiatry, or all these doctors that you go to and you pay money and sit down. Good to see you, Pastor Cyrus. You sit down and have them talk to you. In fact, they don't do the talking. You do the talking. So you are doing the talking because it is a form of therapy. You are releasing what's on the inside. Because when you bottle it up, it will explode one day. But when you talk about it, you release it, it becomes lighter. And that is how it works in counseling, in psychotherapy, and all these things. That is how it works. In changing behavior, you release, you're talking, and then you pay the person for talking to them. And I often say this because I'm not preaching today. I'm going to say it like this. Whatever your religion, you could be Christian, you could be whatever you believe in, I'm encouraging you to talk to your God. For me, I'm a Christian. I talk to God. He's my psychotherapist. Now, I'm not saying that you don't need professional help. Some of you do need that help. But there is an immediate counselor who will listen to you. And he is a divine power. So you can get it off your chest and release it and talk to him. And he will hear you. And you've got it off your chest. And he makes you feel better. I can promise you that. But whatever you do, even if you are going to talk to a higher power, never isolate yourself. Resist the temptation to isolate yourself. Let me see if we can do one more and then we will pack. Okay, I'll do one more, the last one, because of time. Then I'll take any questions that maybe I haven't seen any so far. So that's okay. So I'll give you the last one. What number am I on? Did I say 14? Is this number 15? Somebody help me out there. Okay. I'll just call it number 15, and then we'll take it from there. In fact, I think it's number 14 and 15. So number 14 is you resisting the temptation to cry. Okay, I need to give you that one because it's important. When you resist the temptation to cry, number 14. Thank you, Pastor Cyrus. So we'll do number 14. We'll finish off with box breathing, a breathing technique that can help you overcome anxiety. So number 14 is I'm giving you 15 and then we are finishing today. Number 14 is resisting. Every time you fight the urge to cry, I'm not saying cry all the time because then you become depressed if you overdo it. But crying is not necessarily the worst thing that could ever happen to you. Okay? It is okay to cry. And when you're dealing with anxiety and depression and all these things, a release of those emotions sometimes actually helps you. A release of those things actually releases things that helps you. Men are terrible at this. Men hardly ever cry. Men hardly ever show emotion like that. This is why, according to statistics, you can go check it out, women are more prone to anxiety, depression, and all these mental health conditions. They are more prone to them, while men suffer less from them, even though it affects both of us. However, just like when it comes to suicide, more women attempt suicide than men. However, more men succeed at committing suicide than women do. I'm going to say that one more time. The reason why brothers or men commit suicide successfully more is because we like to bottle things in. We don't want to show any form of weakness. And I want to tell you today, my brothers, crying is not a weakness. It is a form of strength. You are allowing yourself to be vulnerable momentarily so you can release a tension on the inside of you, and then your body can function normally and you move on. If you keep bottling it up, it becomes toxic. And your anxiety levels are stuck in a loop that you cannot get out of. And so you want to make sure that if that is crying is overwhelming you, maybe you've lost somebody you love so much and you feel like crying, let it go. Let those tears come out. Just don't dwell on the crying, but let them fall to the ground. Okay? It is good for you. So that's number 14. And as I said, I wish I could explain more about that, but because of time, I'm going to move on to the last one. Okay, I'm going to move on to the last one. The last one is what I call box breathing. The last one is what I call box breathing. In other words, this is a breathing technique that I believe everybody who may suffer from anxiety or stress or panic attacks in there can benefit from in understanding how it works. And then when I give you this, we will finish and close. But to take you back to that loop that I gave you where you can escape, all these things we have listed, all 15 things, including the last one, 15th one, one we're about to talk about, are aware of escaping the anxiety loop. But let's look at the more immediate escape. So what do? I know all these things you said, David, I can do them over time, but what do I do in that moment when I'm about to take my life, when I'm about to jump off the bridge, when I feel like I'm having a panic attack, I can't breathe? What do I do in that particular moment? And this is where we're going to finish off today. Number one, I'm going to tell you before I give you the breathing technique. Number one, that thing that you can do is don't run away from the signal or from the situation. Face the signal. You've heard people say, confront your fears. This is what we mean by that. And I'm going to explain. It is not jumping off the bridge and that's how you face your fears. That's another more drastic way of facing your fears. Here is how you face the issue in the loop. You pick the signal. Let's see if we can pick a signal. Let's see. Okay, let's go to flying. So the signal comes and here's how you deal with it. Okay, here's how you jump out of it. Ask yourself the question. Is this real or is this an imagination? Okay? Is this real or is it an imagination? Am I in real danger or am I imagining it? You are now facing it. You are facing it. Am I in real danger or am I imagining it? Are we still flying? Yes. When was the last time a plane went down due to turbulence? I've checked this out, by the way. 58 years ago, okay? That is the last time a plane went down due to turbulence. So most likely, we're not going down. As a matter of fact, in the past 58 years, there's been so much technological development and advancement. So if this hasn't happened all this time, we are probably not going down. You are most likely to have an accident if there's an actual mechanical failure, just like in any car or anything else. So most likely, this is just turbulence. I just write it out and it will pass. So this is you facing your fears. This is you saying, okay, so what are the chances that we could go down? Well, no, really. Am I feeling the turbulence? Yes, I am. But is it going to take me down? Probably not. So you are facing your fears by having this conversation with yourself. I can't find my child in the house. All the doors are locked. Is it possible she's been abducted? Probably not. Could she be playing a game of hide and seek? Maybe that's the case. This is me facing the fears, and this is how you jump out of the loop. Because before you know it, you will realize that what you are scared of hasn't happened. It's probably not going to happen. It will probably never happen. But if you dwell on it and if you avoid it rather and you run away from it, now your brain has registered this is a fearful thing, this is a dangerous thing, and the emotions carry on and the symptoms, and now you are an anxious, nervous person because you are avoiding dealing with the issue. Don't avoid it. Don't run away from it. Welcome it, okay? That thought that is causing you to be anxious, the thought that is causing you to be stressed out and depressed, don't run away from it, because if you run away from it, that's now fear, fright, and freeze. You are continuing the loop. Face it, okay? Face it. So face it by saying, okay, let's deal with you. What am I really scared of? Let's talk about it. And then what? And then ask the next question. After that happens, and then what? And then what? Go through the whole conversation. This is you facing it. You're going through the conversation in your mind, and before you know it, you realize, oh my God, I'm just scared for nothing, for no reason. And you are even stronger. So here is some box breathing. I haven't seen any questions yet so far in the conversation, so that's okay. It means when I finish box breathing, I will probably pack and we'll close unless there's an urgent question, which I'll give you 1 minute to wait for any urgent question. So here is box breathing. Make sure you breathe in through the nose, okay? Through the nose for 4 seconds. Okay, you breathe in through the nose for 4 seconds. These are proven scientific techniques, physiological techniques that will help you. This is something you can do by yourself without anybody doing it for you or with you. You can do this anywhere, in your car, in your kitchen, in your living room. Even when you are in a shop and you begin to panic, you can find a section where they sell anything. And people will think you're browsing, but you are doing your box breathing. So box breathing, 4 seconds. Take your deep breath in through your nose, okay, 4 seconds, and hold your breath for another 4 seconds, okay, and breathe out through your mouth for 4 seconds, and hold your breath another 4 seconds, and go again. 3 or 4 times you do this, you will realize that all of a sudden you're no longer panicking. All of a sudden you're no longer stressed out. All of a sudden you are calm. Why? Because you have just countered your autonomic nervous system by waking up your sympathetic nervous system, and now you are bringing balance to your body. Eastern religions call these things like they call them finding your center. You remember those Bruce Lee movies we used to watch in Shaolin Temple, and they talk about find your center and all that stuff. What all they're saying is make sure you balance out the chemicals in your body by balancing out your nervous system by lowering down the autonomic, which is excitement, and bringing up the other one, so it's balanced out. And that's what box breathing does for you. You've probably heard people use things like do yoga and meditation. All they're doing is literally a form of box breathing. They are trying to balance out their nervous system. They're trying to balance out their hormones and chemicals in their body. When you do that, now your brain is not in overdrive and you're not panicking. Now you can be able to move forward. So practice the box breathing. Master it. Make it your own. It's not embedded in any religion. So don't worry that you're listening to a Christian. If you're not a Christian, you can learn this. And if you're a Christian, don't worry, I'm not teaching you Eastern meditation and yoga. No, I'm just showing you something that will physiologically help your chemicals in your body by learning to breathe. You might be getting ready to preach and maybe you get anxious. Just do the box breathing, brother, and you're going to preach so good. You might be getting ready for an interview and all of a sudden your palms are sweaty. Your heart rate is high. You can control this. Deep breath in, 4 seconds. Hold it, 4 seconds. Breathe out through your mouth, 4 seconds. Hold it, and go again. Before you know it, hello, sir, how can I help you? You are back to yourself. Some of you parents feel like when you feel like you're about to strangle your child, you can do the breathing, okay? Don't kill your child, just breathe. Your child doesn't even have to know that you're doing it. Just do the breathing, and then by the time you're done, you are calm. And you are dealing with the situation better. You are driving on the road and you have a near-miss accident. Do the breathing. Okay? Just do the breathing and you're back on the road. And your life is stable. You are bringing yourself to, if you like the language that people can understand, the center. You are finding, those of you that watch those Bruce Lee or those Asian movies and stuff, from Taiwan and them, Lord, Shaolin temples, they call it finding your chi. You probably heard of that. But I'm not teaching that today. I'm just using those words so you can understand what I'm trying to talk about. You can bring back your hormones to stability by just breathing. So understand the breathing technique. Juliana doesn't even know that she knows how to box breathe because I do it to her. And you can do this to some of your children. Sometimes she gets so worked up and she's like, and then you say, Juliana, breathe. And she goes in and before you know it, she's calm. The same child who was, messing about and freaking out a few seconds ago, now she's totally calm. It will work for any age group. So you just need to understand and learn how to control those hormones in your body. I will pack there. Any agent questions, I'm looking in that chat, throw them in. Thank you so much, Pastor Tosi. Appreciate you, sir. I think I'll pack here and finish here. Otherwise, we'll go on forever. I think we have had this for how long now? Yeah, I think it's time to finish. I think we've been at it for a good 1 hour or so. And so I think it's time for us to pack. But any questions, I'm waiting for an agent question and I will answer it. And if you like, the chat below this video, because this video is staying online, the chat below the video, because we've gone on for a long time, I will answer any and every question that you post in the chat tonight. Okay, I will answer every and any question that you post in the chat tonight. So for now, I should let you go and have your dinner and have your whatever it is that you do, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you so much, my friends, my family, for joining me from literally everywhere, every continent. This has been good, and I hope this has been helpful to somebody. I hope that your life is better for it. And even if you did not need this teaching that I gave today, you can be a blessing to somebody else. I'm not one of those people that tell you something and say, don't copy my lessons. Don't copy. No. Shush. Okay, you're selfish. Paul says to Timothy, teach able-bodied men who can teach others. I want you to teach this stuff. In fact, go teach it even better. Go help somebody else. Use the material. If you want want me to send you some notes, I will share my notes. Help somebody else out there if it is not you that needs it. But I believe that all of us at one point or the other, we need to deal with the issues of anxiety, the issues of depression, issues of stress, issues of phobias. But this is how you can apply all these 15 things, use them. I have not exhausted all of them, but you can use them and watch out for triggers so that you can stay on top of your game. I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. Love you guys, and I'll catch you later. Let me know if there is any pressing subject that you want me to deal with next time, specifically on a Saturday like this. More than happy to do it. We might start teaching some prosperity stuff as we move forward, but right now we wanted to help somebody emotionally. God bless you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you, I appreciate you, and I'm gonna go.